In America's cities and towns today, flags will be placed on graves in cemeteries. Public officials will speak of the sacrifice and the valor of those whose memory we honor. Each died for a cause he considered more important than his own life. Well, they didn't volunteer to die. They volunteered to defend values for which men have always been willing to die if need be. As we honor their memory today, let us pledge that their lives, their sacrifices, their valor shall be justified and remembered for as long as God gives life to this nation. And let us also pledge to do our utmost to carry out what must have been their wish, that no other generation of young men will ever have to share their experiences and repeat their sacrifice.
This is Entering Tyngsborough, a podcast from the town of Tyngsborough on all things in town government and the community. I'm Roni Camille. Thanks for joining us. On this special edition of Entering Tyngsborough, we speak with Chris Dery, who is our Veterans Agent, about his role in the Veterans Office, as well as his dual role in the Massachusetts National Guard. Plus, we hear from veterans and sounds of Memorial Day.
Say a prayer, and then another. Remember the fallen for all the good they have done.
This is Entering Tyngsborough for Memorial Day 2024.
On Memorial Day, we take this time to remember those who've made the ultimate sacrifice for this great nation.
Memorial Day is not about me. It's about those that have lost their lives in the service and defense of this great nation.
It's important that Americans know the meaning of Memorial Day.
That it is not just a day of going out and having a picnic.
Memorial Day is one day to honor those that are no longer with us.
Memorial Day is a day of tremendous grief and overwhelming pride.
It becomes more personal when you lose a family member.
It is our right and our duty and our honor to remember them.
A day of honoring those that are gone,
who have paid the ultimate sacrifice and price for our freedoms.
I think of Memorial Day as more of a day of remembering and honoring.
Freedom is not free.
The freedoms and liberties we enjoy every day as Americans is a direct result of the sacrifices and courage of these servicemen and women who died defending this great nation. It is important we all remember their lives, their courage, their legacy, and their service.
The Director of Veteran Services here for Tyngsborough.
Chris, thanks so much for coming on the program. So first and foremost, what exactly is the Veterans Agent?
So the Veterans Agent, what we do is we offer services. Well, we help assist veterans in obtaining services and eligibility for different programs throughout the state and federal government.
And is that strictly with residents that live in town?
For the most part, yes. Each town and city has their own veterans agent in Massachusetts, so mostly it is. But when it comes to the federal programs, sometimes people come from different areas only because their mom or dad may live in town, or their son or daughter may live in town, so they're more comfortable using the local veterans agent here versus another one.
And what are other services that you're, that may not be, your traditional means that you would offer veterans in the community?
Can you expound on that question a little bit?
So let's say somebody needed, I don't know, there's been instances where somebody needed a help with, home improvement project, and you put, are you kind of like the de facto, let's connect veterans with veterans?
Correct. Yeah, no, that's a great question. So anything unconventional like that. Not only do we have a small fund here in Town Hall that we started a few years back for donations to help people with things like that. But there are programs out there through the VA, private organizations that we can access or help them access those programs to get things like that done. So like wheelchair ramps and things like that. Yeah.
And what's the current makeup of total veterans here in Tyngsborough?
It's hard to say exactly unless they fill out the census, but on average, each town and state, it's about 10% of the population. So we're right around 12,000 or so.
Wow. And how many veterans?
I'm sorry, 1,200.
1,200, I was going to say.
Populations are right around 12,000. we're right
Right.
around 1,200. Yeah.
Sure. And would you say, how many people do you serve in your office annually?
Gosh, last year we have just about 20 people on the um, low income veterans benefits here for the state program. But last year I did over 400 applications for the VA for different veterans throughout the town.
In addition to your role, you're also assisting our community to the east, Dracut, who you're playing the dual role of veterans of services in Tyngsborough and in Dracut. So are you kind of doing the same services and helping those veterans in that community out?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. They've gone through quite a few veterans agents over the last, 8 years or so, and I've stepped in numerous times to help them out. Um, Being seasoned, I've been doing this 13 years, so I'm able to just step in on most cases and just keep the status quo. I'm not looking to. It's not like my Tyngsborough program where I'm running the entire. Over there, I'm really just stepping in, making sure that the veterans are being taken care of, making sure phone calls are answered, emails are answered until they hire a new veterans agent, which should be soon.
Sure.
Yep.
What are some of the challenges you might face that maybe veterans are facing in regards to navigating this complicated, process with the federal government?
Yeah, and so and I got the question the other day when somebody was doing a VA claim and they got denied. They said, "Should I just give up?" And the answer is no. You're dealing with an organization, the VA. I think they have 600,000 employees, which is a massive amount of employees. So that's a big red tape. And they're great. Don't get me wrong. It's just that's what happens when any company or corporation or government entity gets that big. Is it's a lot of red tape. It's a lot of time, and it gets really complicated. And so I encourage people to reach out to resources like me and let me help them guide them through that process. Take some of the weight off of them to get them through the federal applying for these federal programs that can be very cumbersome with paperwork and the forms and whatnot.
I want to shift gears a little bit, Chris. In addition to your role here in town, you kind of serve like a dual, also triple role. For the last 21 years, you've served in the Massachusetts National Guard, and your current rank is Master Sergeant with the 151st Regional Support. Talk to us about that, about this kind of dual service. You're here in town, and then occasionally you're doing the stuff at the state, the Commonwealth, and federal level.
Yeah, and as you know, Roni, I've been here, like I said, just about 13 years, and I've been called up a few times to do federal active duty. It's a love-hate relationship at times, but I'll tell you, it's rewarding. I've done it a long time. I'm proud. I'm proud of how the state treats their veterans and their service members. And 21 years is a long time. I'm coming to the end of my career. It's a young man's sport, so but it's been a pleasure to do it.
Well, so for those that may not know people know what you do in town, but what exactly do you do for the National Guard?
So right now I'm admin. I'm an operations sergeant, and so I do mostly administrative duties. With our unit specifically prepares other units for leaving, for deployments. So we help with the paperwork and the integration between the systems of federal side and our side on National Guard side. So it's rewarding. Yeah.
How critical is it for the community to support the veterans after they're coming off from their service and continued as they're a veteran, as well as those that are, like yourself, kind of in that dual role or going to be deployed or in active duty?
Yeah, I think overall most of the community is great at supporting the needs. I think the hidden factor there, and a lot of veterans have a tough time reaching out for help with needs. They like to kind of compartmentalize that stuff. But reintegration back into normal society is, I think, the toughest part for them. And so giving them that breath of time to get back used to routine with the family, with the job, and those things like that.
And Chris, we are just about out of time. I want to, talk to you about Memorial Day. You've been obviously active in coordinating with the local Legion VFW here in town with Memorial Day services over the last decade or so. And obviously this year is no different. What does Memorial Day mean to you?
Yeah, Memorial Day, especially for me personally, I mean, it's a time to reflect, right? Everything we have is because of those who gave their life before us, right? Um, and that doesn't, Memorial Day specifically for the military, right? But there's a lot of people who died that weren't in the military that contributed to the country as well, right? In our freedoms. That said, it's probably the most important day that we can celebrate as far as the freedoms we have on the sacrifices of those who laid down their life for those freedoms. So I think it's the most important of all the holidays we have. That's my personal opinion. But yeah, I think it's and Tyngsborough does a great job of making sure we do that every year.
Chris Dery, Veteran Services Agent for the town of Tyngsborough. Chris, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Ronnie.
This is Entering Tyngsborough.
Good morning. My name's Ray Hamelin. I'm the past commander at Post 247. There's just a few things that I'd like to discuss or put out there for some knowledge about Memorial Day. If you don't mind, I got it written on my phone where I'd like to read it to you. It says, "It's not a holiday, it's a remembrance. If you want to know the true meaning, visit Arlington Cemetery or your local VA cemetery, not Disneyland. It's not a holiday, it's a remembrance. Please, don't wish anyone a happy Memorial Day. There's nothing happy about the brave men and women dying for this country. Say a prayer and then another. Remember the fallen for all the good they have done. Reach out and let a vet know you're there. We're losing too many in peace." These are just a few of things that should be remembered on Memorial Day for our fallen. Thank you.
This is Entering Tyngsborough for Memorial Day 2024. I'm Roni Camille. Thanks so much for listening and watching. Until next time, be well.